Gotta wake up, dude.
What you mean, bro? We at the beach, huh?
Nah, yo, we gotta get to the airport.
I'm trying to relax.
Wishing that I was at a beach. Feet up, chilling at peace. Got a coconut, I drink. Splash in the water, no sink. Way soon, that'll be me. Better take off in a week.
What's up, fam? This is Scott Smith. Welcome back to the Time is Right podcast. Woo, this is going to be a fun episode. We are so excited that you would spend a little bit of time with us. We are going all the way back to July 9th through July 16th. Yes, this is a 7-day date, a long week that we spent in a faraway land called Canada. London, Ontario, to be exact, not to be confused with London, England. A lot of people thought we were in London, England, because we said we were in London. But it was London, Ontario, and it is about 10 and a half hours away from the city of Philadelphia. And it's a beautiful place. And we spent a week there. There was actually a crew of us, about 10 from our Ripe community that went up to Canada for the entire week. And it is a fantastic story of how it all came to pass, what happened, and the impact it made on us and the people that were there. And to tell this story today, I have a couple beautiful guests, wonderful guests, amazing guests. And I'm going to introduce them to you, or they're going to introduce themselves in just a second. We have Emily. Welcome back to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you again. You may remember her from the Marguerite Anglin Amazing Creatives Gallery episode that we released a long time ago. So hopefully you enjoyed that episode. Emily is also on staff with Ripe Creatives, and she does a lot to make this whole ship move in the direction that it moves, including leading the Ripe Worship squad on a lot of the gigs that they go on, and she was the one leading the team for this trip to Canada. So super important person to have in the room. We also have somebody else here to be a part of this podcast with us, and it is his first time on the podcast, and certainly not his last. Andre, what's good, baby?
What's up, Scott? Thank you for having me.
Switched it up on him, you know what I'm saying?
He did. I thought he was going to give out my nickname, everybody.
Yeah, I was about to say
You want to say it? You just say
nope,
it.
not going to do it.
No?
I'm not going to pull the trigger. Because if I say it
guarantee
wrong, you're going to yell at me.
I guarantee you'll say it before this is done.
Yeah, there's definitely a fact. You may or may not hear a nickname later on. Once it's said, you're going to know exactly who's on this podcast. If you're from the Philadelphia region, because this man is a legend in the church world, worship world. And he got to be a part of this awesome Canada trip. Andre, can you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes.
Because this is your first time on the pod. So,
all right, my name is Andre. I play the drums. I have been since, I was 11 years old. And I'm 37 now, so it's a long time.
He's an old man.
Yeah. Moved to Philly to join the church I'm at now in Delight, Philly. And I've been there since. And I got connected to Ripe through DJ Ant G.
Shout out DJ Ant G.
He was the DJ at my wedding. Also a really, really good friend of mine. That's how I got introduced to Ripe. And
yeah, it's been less than a year that you've been a part of this whole community as of the recording of this podcast. And Canada was actually your first time doing anything with Ripe in any kind of way. And it's kind of a wild story of how that all came to pass. But I appreciate you being here on the podcast for the first time. And Emily, it's always good to have you as you take my picture. Awesome.
It's B-real time. Come on.
You know, whatever. So July 9th through the 16th, full week in Canada. But we got to start with a little bit of the backstory of how this actually happened. So this is so fun. I just went and looked at all the emails with William, who you'll hear all about. And this started in January, late January. William, this random man in Canada who's like the sweetest man ever. Like such a sweet dude, like very. So kind. And he's, sorry. Sorry. Did I offend you? Sorry.
I think everybody up there was so nice.
Canadians are just like the most hospitable, kind, gracious people ever. But he's on Jubilee Conference website, which I still don't even fully understand how even knew CCO, Coalition for Christian Outreach, big campus ministry organization in Pittsburgh area. Well, really nationally, but based out of Pittsburgh. they do a conference called Jubilee every year. And he somehow knows of the CCO and is looking up the Jubilee Conference website, and he's scrolling through all of the speakers and worship teams and all these things. And listed on the website is Ripe Worship. And it's a picture of Emily, Rashid, and Olivia, because the Ever So trio used to go under the same moniker as the whole worship team, just because they were birthed out of Ripe Worship. Made sense. I guess we're Ripe Worship too. We might as well just keep the name. Eventually rebranded as Ever So, but at this point we're still Ripe Worship. And so this William guy, this Canadian man who's super sweet, is like, who the heck is Ripe Worship? I've never heard of that before. Googles us and finds ripecreatives.com, where it's not just a worship team. It's also hip hop and poetry and singer-songwriters and a creative community and creatives events. And he's like, what is this? Ripe Worship is also a part of this whole creative community thing based in Philadelphia. What is this? I'm so intrigued. And so he sends me an email in late January saying like, hey, we're doing this thing in Canada called London Serve. And I don't know if it's possible, but we'd love for Ripe to come be a part of this somehow. And I was like, what? International opportunity in Canada? This is crazy. How did you even find us? And we go back and forth, and we set up a phone call. And it was with me, Emily, and William together. And Em, if you can just jump in on some of that phone call stuff.
Yeah, so I didn't really know what to expect with this phone call. Just from back and forth emails with Will, I definitely pegged him to be a lot older than he was. But he was...
Very professional.
Yes, very professional, like long emails, just like... Yeah, he was great though. So hopping on the phone with him, it was super evident that he desired what Ripe had as a creative community for his students, for the kids who were coming to London, Ontario to serve. He desired what we had to offer, which was more than just a worship team, but a group of creatives who could encourage them to step into gifts other than what they see on a regular Sunday morning. And that stood out to me so much because he valued what we did. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as we got into this conversation, I knew that like we were going to make this work. And Will, he kills the organ like beautifully. Oh my goodness. So he has such an appreciation for the arts because he is an artist himself. And so it was such an easy decision to say, yes, we want to come serve with you, because of the person that we could just like get to know just over the phone, not even meeting face to face yet. And we were already like, oh yeah.
Yep. All of that is so true. Yeah. I just remember him like, there was so much of like, can this even work? Like, is this even a thing that you guys do? Is this something that could be done? It was like, well, we've done this in New Jersey. We've done this in the Poconos. We've done this in some Western PA a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, we've done this regionally, but the idea of, can we take a team all the way to another country and lead in this kind of way? And can we do it in a way that it could be really special and unique, that is in line with who we are as a community? So it wasn't just, not to say just worship in the sense of worship arts, but that it would involve some more elements that, you know, would validate some of the reasons why the website piqued his interest, right? Which was because it was this entire creative collective thing. So the big question was, could we build a team, right? And so that's where Emily was like, okay, I really want to do this. I love this man, William, whoever he is. He's amazing. I can't wait to meet him. Let's figure this out. And then we just started working on, okay, how do we build a team that is a good reflection of who we are, but also is just who's available and who's willing to make a huge sacrifice to forego working for a week, forego vacation time, maybe spend on themselves to go serve other people, to go make this trip to Canada possible. And it was a lot of like, these people might be in, these people are in, these people are no longer in, these people are in. And just seeing like the shuffling of the deck, what God was doing. But you started to get some of those things solidified. Who were some of those first people that said yes to going? Because we took a crew, I think, of 10 total.
7 were worship.
7 were worship, myself, Dar, Ant, and Demir. So I guess we had 11. So we had an 11-person team that we took.
So before we said yes, I put out a feeler of like, who would be interested in going to Canada? And everyone was like, oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely, say yes. And then as we like solidified that, they were like, actually, I can't go. And I was like,
Everybody's like, I'm super interested, except actually going.
Yeah. So naturally, it dwindled down to like my most solid 4 people who are always down to like show up and be there, and like what a squad that is. And it's Olivia and her husband Mike, and Priscilla and her husband Esteban. And like I couldn't ask for a better like start than that. That's like a 2 singers, keys player, an electric player, and a bass player. And so we're like, all right, at the bare minimum, we like need a drummer. And so we had 2 drummers say yes, not be able to go, say yes, not be able to go. And that was like our last piece. That was still trying to come together. We were confident that the Lord would bring someone, or we would like find someone in Canada to drum with us. Like, I don't know, something would come together.
Yeah. And I remember us having a moment, and to emphasize, because they were a part of the story, like, so that was on the worship front that I went to host and perform, and then we asked Demir to come as an artist to perform hip hop, and then Aunt G to come and DJ, which was just going to like pull the whole thing together. And because Aunt was such a big part of it, once you get Aunt involved, Aunt's just like, yo, what do you guys need? How can I help? He's like such a networker. And so I start, Emily's like striking out on drummers, like, oh, our first option was in, but now they can't be because they have a conflict. Our second person, they thought they were in, but now they can't be. We don't know who we're going to get. And so I just start hitting up every drummer I know. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to hit up every drummer I know. And yeah, that led to a conversation between Aunt G and you, Andre. And I mean, you can share more of the specifics of how the heck that conversation went.
Yeah, it was, if you know Anthony, when he texts you, it could be pretty random sometimes. And yeah, so he texted me and asked me if I can get off of work. Mind you, I was at work. I'm like, dude, I'm at work. I can't leave. Like, I'm at work for the day. He's like, no, can you get off for a week and 2 weeks to go to Canada? I was like, oh, well, that's different. For what? Then he explained, like, briefly, and not so many details, as best as he could, what the trip was about. Until we spoke later on that day, then he gave me, like, more of the details. Initially, I was like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen, because I work and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks out at this
literally
point.
2 weeks. I'm like, who, like, literally, you kidding me? It's in 2 weeks. So, yeah, my wife got home. She called me while I was at work, and I'm like, I got to talk to you when you get home. And she's like, what about? And I'm like, long story short, I could probably go to Canada, but it's for a week and in 2 weeks. But we got to talk about it when you get home. And she's like, oh, okay, for sure. So, yeah, thank God for my wife, because we spoke about it, weighed out the pros and cons, because I would have to take off of work for a full week, right? So, yeah, the conversation went really well, though, and she's super supportive and gave me her yes, which allowed me to give my yes. After that, I spoke to, my pastors at my church, because, I do serve there on the weekends, and I got their blessing. Within 24 hours of Anthony texting me, I gave my yes. Right. I was able to. And
it was just domino kept falling.
And it was super seamless. It wasn't like pulling teeth. It was like one of the easiest yeses I've ever gave. Like, it was simple. And then I started to get text messages from M, and which I didn't realize I did meet her before, a couple years before, through Aaron and Mallory. Like, it was like really quick, like random. I think she came to one of our rehearsals for praise and worship one time, and it was just like, and I remembered her. And yeah, I think the following week we had our first rehearsal.
1 week before we leave,
Like a week before we left.
the
but
drummers arrived.
yeah, I get to the church in Manoa, and I meet everybody there for the most part, except for Isaac, I think. And then
Yeah, we'll get to Isaac.
yeah, but it was cool. Like even the rehearsal, I expressed to Anthony after, like the welcoming, the thanks that I got just for giving my yes, like was awesome. And then just to be in a room with musicians and vocalists, artists that, come prepared and love what they do, and have passion and like legit were excited about going up there like that. To me, I was like, yeah, this is going to be legit. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember talking to Ant once you committed, or once you were like in the process of committing, and he just said to me like, Scott, this feels like the Lord is doing this, because Andre has felt like that he's supposed to do this kind of stuff, but for whatever reason, with just stuff you had gone through or things just not working out in the past, that you hadn't had the opportunity to go do this kind of thing, and that this was almost like you was almost like you were waiting for somebody to say, come do this kind of thing, and you were ready to say yes whenever that day would come. And it just so happened to be through this random group of people called Ripe,
Yeah. Yeah, just the way it happened, I'm like, okay, all right, God, this is funny. Because when I was 18, someone spoke a word over me. I was already playing music at my dad's church in the worship team. And just having fun and doing it. Like a lot of times it was out of obligation because it's my dad's church and we got to serve. Got to happen, And the speaker, I walked into my dad's church on a Friday morning. He let me skip school so we can have prayer time with the guys, take the speaker out for breakfast, and just kind of hang out for the day. And I was the last one to get there because I overslept. So I drive my car to my dad's church and I walk in, and they're just kind of waiting around for me so we can go about our day. But the speaker, his name was Rob Sanchez. He pretty much started talking over everybody and just told me, hey, I've been waiting for you to get here. And pretty much said that the Lord woke him up the night before, and because he saw a vision of me playing, and that the music that I play will reach, it'll reach people. It'll change people's hearts and their minds. And in the vision, it was a lot of younger people, so being 18 and hearing that, like I was so mature and I wanted it to happen like tomorrow, like and right away. But like I didn't realize that it would take so long. But I think it took so long just because I wasn't ready yet. I've had opportunities that came and gone because I wasn't ready myself.
Yeah.
Whether, I was going through stuff like as an individual, I lacked integrity in certain areas of my life, and, who wants to give opportunity to someone that doesn't have integrity? You know what I mean? Like yeah. So I had opportunities before, but they got passed by because of just me, not being ready and prepared, and, yeah. So when this happened, and, like Canada for a week and gonna go play music or, do worship, which is one of my favorite things to do, I was just super excited, and especially with how the whole thing like was seamless. Like giving my yes in 24 hours or less than 24 hours. Like,
yeah. So many things had to work out.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
There was all these things, like your job, and then, you were in transition to a new job, the start date for the new job. like there's this crazy stuff.
We left, what was that?
The 9th.
We left the 9th. So I literally, mind you, my former employer, my boss, great man, super understanding. I still have a good relationship with him now. But I emailed him, like, I texted him like, hey, I'm about to send you my letter of resignation. He was like, all right, make it look official, for HR. And I'm like, all right. So I emailed him and my supervisor. I'm just letting them know that on the 7th of July would be my last, like, working day as full-time employee. That way I had a day in between to pack, do laundry and get like, I had to go. I literally drove all over Philly. Thank God for some of my friends that also play drums that hooked me up with like sticks, prototype sticks to try when I was out there, and kick pedal and cymbals. That way, like I didn't have to go take stuff from my church. You know what I mean? Because they needed those things over there. But yeah, I needed a day in between, and then we got back on the 16th, and I literally
started your new job.
Literally 12 hours later, I started training for my new job, and then
on the 17th.
Ever since then, it's just been like, like I had to just start running when my feet hit the ground, and but I'm super grateful for the opportunity.
It was such a cool story, and the last person that was a part of the team. In part because one of the original crew had to pass up the opportunity to be able to go because they got a passport issue. Basically couldn't get their birth certificate stuff in time to be able to get their passport done in time to make the trip. So we kind of had this one last spot that we needed to fill. And you always are like this. Emily's super good at this. She really wants balance on the vocal side of the worship team. Like, she doesn't want it to just be all guys or all girls. She really feels like it's super important to have a blend there. Not just from a sonic like end of things, but for the leadership of the students. Because you're leading young people, and they gravitate towards what they can identify themselves with on the stage. And so it's a lot of teenagers from all different parts of the country and Canada that were up there to serve. So Emily was like, we need a male vocalist. And we happen to know a really, really great one that used to be a part of Ripe Worship, but it moved away to Maryland. And you can just tell a little bit about that story.
Yeah, so Isaac is an OG Ripe Worship. When we became a thing, like, he was on that main team. And he carries such a reverence with him, like, wherever he goes. And I think that it's very unique, especially, like, in a community of people who we have a really good time together, like we do. But Isaac, Isaac is like, he can switch the vibe of the room so quickly into this one of just being in awe of God. And so him moving to Maryland, he will always be a part of Ripe Worship, even if he's in Maryland. But he moved to Maryland to pursue his now wife. Praise God, so beautiful. But it was a huge loss. We had a worship night and prayed over him and released him because we wanted him to invest fully in where he was going next. Mm-hmm. But when none of our guys could go, after we had an open spot, I was like, it's a long shot. It is, but I'm going to reach out and see if Isaac's free. And in a matter of a couple days, he got back and said that he would come. And he was the last missing piece of the puzzle of this team that just was so influential in making the week the way that it was. And so we were all very excited for that. But yeah.
So good. It was so good to have Isaac back. He was a part of a heat wave Youth for Christ week that we did in the summer of 2021. It was super impactful. That was the beginning of Ripe Worship being a team kind of thing to actually go out and lead places. Yeah, I
met him the morning right before we left.
You heard that story?
No, I met him. I first met him the morning we left.
Yeah, because he wasn't a part of the rehearsals because he was in Maryland.
No. And I was just like, who's this random dude texting us in this group chat? Oh, okay, it's Isaac. I'm like, all right. And then we ended up rooming together in the Secret Service agent's house up in Canada.
Listen, we'll get to that.
Yeah, he was a dope roommate though. He was cool.
If we die after this podcast airs, you'll know why. Okay? Because we saw some stuff. Yeah, man. So here's the full team just one more time, just to kind of give a frame of reference. Emily is leading the worship team with Esteban and Priscilla. Essie's playing electric, Pre's on keys and singing. Olivia's a vocalist. Isaac's on acoustic and singing, or bass and singing. And then Andre is doing drums. Mm-hmm. And then we also had DJ Angie on the DJing stuff and like a lot of the games and things like that with myself as the host MC, and doing spoken word stuff, and then Diomer as well performing hip hop. And it was a really, really, really good team. We took up 3 cars. And I know sounds like a stupid little thing, but it was kind of wild because we didn't know if we'd make it across the border.
No.
Because this was, like this whole time when we were planning this out from January to July, there was no way we were going to get across the border because the border wasn't even open yet. And Will just kept saying, yeah, like, we're just in faith. We're going to believe that it's going to be open by July. And it like just opened up a couple weeks before we went to Canada. But even then, there was like a high level of scrutiny. Are we really going to be able to get across? It was so easy though.
And there's a certain wood that is not allowed.
Yeah, the Brazilian something
across the border in Canada.
Remember, but like I remember me the night before.
Esty was like, my guitars are all that wood.
Listen, the night before, I had all my drum gear laid across my couch, and my wife is like, dude, like I want to sit, but like I said, hold on, I gotta make an itemized list. So I had like my snare drum, which is cherry wood. I looked it up, like, all right, cool, I'm good. But like I literally wrote down every pair of sticks, all my cymbals, like itemized everything.
Over dramatic.
Yeah, because like Essie's freaking out, and then
we actually seriously freaking out.
I was in the car with M, Liv, Isaac, and myself, and then like. Yeah, like you two in the front seat were cracking me up because I think like they were like super like stressed, and I'm in the back like, oh my gosh, just like relax, we'll be all right. And we literally give our passports over. The dude's like, all right, we went right in. Like,
well, you guys were after us. We did all the heavy lifting.
We
for
were the
you.
last car, and something came over me, and I just got so nervous and like awkward. He asked me a question, and I was like, and I just didn't know how to answer. He was like asking where we were coming from. I was like, America? Like, I like just answered. So I was just
America.
so nervous and like shaking, and like he's probably so confused. Like, why are you?
I think it's a natural
so
thing to just feel nervous at the border. I don't know why, but Esty was freaking out though. And he was like adamant. He was like, I don't want to get my guitars confiscated. And we're like, dude, it's going to be okay. But we all were kind of nervous with him, and it ended up being a breeze. Thankfully, no issues at the border.
Right through.
And we kept driving right on up to London, Ontario. Now, we arrive at one of 2 very large homes. And basically, we split up the team, 6 and 5 to stay between these 2 homes, I think. The first home was with a family. The other home was a family that was on vacation, on holiday for the summer. They gave us their house. So half the team was in one house that was empty. The other half was in a very large house, and where the family was still staying there. Basically, a host family for the week. The accommodations were insane.
absolutely.
Like next level. Like one of the houses had a giant pool in the back with like an outside terrace and an underneath part, and like we were all in the basement, and there were a ton of rooms, and like it was wild.
Hey, the basement was his own house itself.
Was a 4-bedroom house.
Pretty much.
Basement.
And they stocked the fridge for us.
They did.
They didn't play
with
games.
all the little drinks and everything. It was so
Anything,
nice.
yeah.
And it was like an older, really
Hank.
nice
A retired
house.
couple.
Yeah, shout out to Hank.
And
What was his wife's name?
I
Oh
don't
gosh.
remember.
I feel awful.
I'm ashamed.
Sorry.
I'm ashamed.
Sorry, Hank's wife.
Hank, we are gonna please forgive us. But Hank was 100% in the Canadian equivalent of the CIA.
He had to be.
He was a spy for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah,
They built their house.
we're probably gonna be killed for saying this on pod though. So maybe we should
Oh no,
delete this.
he might
part.
not. He might not listen. You know what I
Listen.
mean? He
Oh,
might
he's
not.
gonna hear this.
They built their house and have lived in it their whole lives together. And
There's
it's
memorabilia from everywhere.
it's an amazing house.
Yeah,
He was
had,
James
like-
Bond in the
They had
70s.
collected the most randomest things from the most randomest places in the earth, like in the world,
Yes.
and they were in his house.
It was, yeah. I listened. It was like Tomb Raider meets James Bond.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
but retired for 30 years.
They were so sweet.
They were the sweetest people, and they love Jesus a whole lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely amazing. But at one point, I think he was a spy. So, it's fine. But here's kind of, so once we get settled, we're in our housing situation, all that good stuff. We got to talk about the week itself. So what are we there for? What's happening? Why are we there? It is a missions trip for Canadian teenagers from various churches all across different provinces of Canada come together for 1 week at Talbot Street, which is the name of the church in London, Ontario, where we did worship every night and where we did all the concerts and, spend time with the students, all that stuff. They were from all over Canada coming to this one centralized place for a missions trip. And we were basically the brought-in worship team for that missions trip experience. So it's kind of like a missions trip and a conference together. And we helped, facilitate a lot of the content and experience for those students. But it was crazy for Emily and I because we did this type of work together on staff. At the Philly Project, I was there for a really long time. Emily was an intern of mine for a summer and was on staff for a little bit longer doing some other stuff there. So it's very familial territory for us, like short-term missions, people coming in to a centralized place to go out to a city to serve and make an impact, coming back and having transformative worship experiences. It was like really kind of special almost as a like reminder of what I had done for 10 years, reminder of the value of this kind of space, and to get to be a part of it in another country and almost see the identical kinds of experiences that we did in Philly, I think was really special.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. It was very, very familiar, but just done so well. They did such a good job. It was so funny. The week started and the students were just like, they didn't really know what to do. Their bodies for
Facts.
anything.
It was awkward for a little bit.
So it was like seeing them, remembering them at the beginning of the week and then seeing them at the last night, completely different kids.
It was amazing.
Like, I think this was the first time that we've ever seen, like, the culture that we carry be planted and received fully and, like, fully transformed.
Yeah.
This, like, little community of kids who just met this week. Like, it was wild, the difference. What did the lady call them? They're known as, like, the stone children
Frozen
or something.
chosen or something?
The frozen children, something like that. Something because they don't move and they don't, like...
Yeah, that was not the case by the end of the week.
No.
Not.
Even at the end of the first night, though, like
They were already starting to buy in.
Yeah, which is so crazy.
I remember, like, there is such an authority that you have when you've just driven 10 hours to, like, be a part of, because we arrived the same day as the first night worship, right? So we arrive, we get settled, couple hours, we got to go get sound checked and get going. And I just remember feeling so free, not to be like a jerk, but with love, because it really was like, we love these kids. Like, we're praying for these kids, and God's given us a heart to love them, how He sees them and how He loves them. So when I'm like speaking to them about the week and what we're going to be doing, like, I'm able to invite them in so much deeper, because it's like, look, we didn't drive 10 hours for us to like come up here and just do our songs and be done with this.
Yeah.
Like, we came up here to meet with the Lord and to be impacted by Him and to have our lives transformed by Him individually. So we need to, we need you to come with us on that journey. And it just felt like boom, boom, boom. Like, these kids just like dove in the deep end all week.
Yeah.
And we had 6 nights with them in a row, like blah, blah, blah. Like, every night was just like a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper, exposing them to new songs, exposing them to new movements, exposing them to new styles of worship every night, where they just kind of were moving forward through the stream. It was absolutely crazy.
I think even hearing you give spoken word, that was probably a first for all of them.
Yeah. And I mean, probably hip hop live,
Oh,
Christian
yeah.
hip hop. They
Yeah.
didn't even know
These
Christian
are all,
hip hop
like-
existed.
Fans of the Beebs.
Yeah.
And,
Like, just
you know.
very...
They were cool kids. I mean, they were different kids.
For sure. Wonderful. But like
Absolutely.
So sweet.
absolutely no context for Diomer's music whatsoever.
Yeah.
But seeing them like learn the songs while Diomer's not around so they can be in, like,
Yeah, that was
is
crazy.
sweet.
They did
That is
that.
like genuine love and like affection for the person
They
that
were
is
on
there.
Spotify.
Like,
All
so
day
sweet.
on the ministry sites.
Learning his music so they can like really be in the concert. Like,
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, and so every day they would go out and serve, and they're having like impactful experiences there, and then they're coming back to us, and it's like our job to pour into them so that they have something to give the next day.
Yeah.
And I just want to bring up a couple like little nuanced stories that you guys can drive, if you want. But is it Annika?
Yep.
Anakin Skywalker. No, just kidding. Annika was this adorable little redheaded girl.
Little, she's tall.
She was tall.
But she's
taller
like
than you. She was still
Definitely
little.
taller than me.
She's not like gigantic. She's a
No.
teenager.
Yeah, she's a little girl, but like,
So sweet.
Just tall. That's it.
Canadian, so she's sweet. But I saw her doodling like in her little book during one of the meals, I think, like early in the week. And I remember being like, hey, like Creatives Gallery, and just, I was like, she really has a skill. Like, these are actually good. Like, this is not bad at all. It's not just like, a teenager doodling. Like, she's got a real knack for this. And it's evident in what she's able to create. And that's without her thinking anybody's going to look at it. She's not like doing it for an audience. She's doing it because she loves it. And it seems like it's like a life coping mechanism for her or whatever. And I just kind of threw it out to Em. I was like, hey, what do you think about like us talking to her about being a part of something this week? Like how we've had live painters for our worship nights back in Philly. And Em was like, yes, let's do it. And so we like brought her into the sanctuary. And I mean, you could share the story about that
Yeah.
conversation because it was adorable.
I just got to like ask her questions about like her art, and I don't remember so much of it, but just explaining like, this is a way to worship. And I don't know if anyone's ever expressed that to you, or if you have the opportunity to do that, but like it's such a powerful way to worship and a way for people to like receive the love of God, receive like just another aspect of beauty towards the Lord. And that's a huge way that I connect with like worship, is through seeing the art that people create. And so I just wanted to empower her with like, there's so many opportunities for you to use this and you to start something back home, but like I want to help you and like empower you here. So would you be willing to like draw tonight, or not tonight? I gave her like
It was a couple
day,
nights later, yeah,
like
the
a
next
day
night
or two,
or-
something like
yeah.
that. But I asked her if she would be willing to, and she was really nervous, but she said yes, and that I was over the moon. And I just encouraged her, like, just pray. Like, there's no guidelines that I'm gonna give you. Just like whatever God is like, this is it. Be open, like just go and spend some time in prayer, but like whatever comes to your mind, just draw it. And what she ended up creating was just the sweetest, most beautiful. Like, she used the Ripe logo and filled it completely with things from the week. So I think it was Thursday that she was on there, and it was towards the end of the week, and there were just so many different intricate aspects of what she created, capturing the whole week of everything that the students experienced, lyrics and little doodles of inside jokes, and like a microphone, and like bars, because Scott taught them bars during spoken word, and they grabbed onto that real hard.
They did.
And
Yeah.
just like
They did.
so beautifully done. And I was so encouraged by it, and we got to show it to everyone and give her a moment to like be on the mic and explain, like, this is what I created. And I, like, before we left, we were uncertain on if well, I was uncertain if we should take it or not. And we got amazing pictures of it. But I really felt like it was something that she needed to keep. So I wrote a little note on the back just encouraging her and like a prayer, just like continue on. Like this is just the start of your journey as an artist. And let this be a reminder to you that there's always a place to worship. There's always a place for you to create something that glorifies the Lord and encourages other people. Yeah. And that she can take this home and create a space like that at her church. Where like, hey, on Sunday, like I would love to get up and draw, like whatever God is giving me to draw. Yeah, and it was very, very special, especially coming off good. Like our first gallery, like that being something so pressing in my life with like visual artists, and then meeting a student who is a visual artist but just needs that encouragement.
Needs to have the door unlocked.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Because, it shouldn't be abnormal, but it is. But rather than be frustrated that it's abnormal, right, you just say, okay, let's pick some locks. Mm-hmm. Right? People don't have keys to be able to do this at their church on Sunday. We can be the people that make this happen. Like, we can be the people that allow creative expression to flourish in worship. That's what we do anyway. We're ripe creatives. You know what I mean? Like, right. If anybody can be the advocate for this, or to say, like, no, this is what we're doing, even if it's outside the box. And I think it's a testament to Will and that whole community, their hospitality and their trust that they had in us. To be like, hey, can we steal one of your students for the night? Mm-hmm. And it's going to, come at the cost of them experiencing the worship from this side of the room to where they're going to be a part of leading the other students. But I think everybody realized that's the goal. The goal is not for us to lead well. Mm-hmm. The goal is for us to empower young people to where they can lead in our absence. Mm-hmm. That's always the goal, is equipping so that you're no longer necessary in the space. And so I'm super thankful that that's like always been a part of our heart, and anything that we do is to put ourselves out of a job, in the spaces that we're in. But it was so evident that she needed somebody to believe in her and create access for her to do this thing as a worship expression, because she had never done it before. And I think there's some story with her 10 years from now that we're going to hear how God has used, that was like a beginning or a continuation of what he had been doing in her life. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the Annika story because she's going to change the world. And you're right. It was amazing what she created. The art piece, they said the right logo right in the middle, and then using inside and outside the logo. It was like a full sheet of paper. Just all the memories of the entire week wrapped up in one image. Yeah. It's incredible.
So good.
It's like one of one kind of art.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It was so good. Another young guy that we got to hang out with quite a bit was Barnaby.
Yeah.
That little dude, man. He loved Diomer.
Bars.
He loved me, I guess, too. But he really loved Diomer as well.
Yeah.
And I had so many like significant moments and interactions with him where I was blown away by his maturity spiritually. Not his maturity as like a child, because he's a crazy nutty little kid.
Yeah.
But his like understanding of some deep stuff about the Lord's heart and what he's for and what he's against without needing to be taught it was so real.
Is he the young kid that had nobody in his family that went to church?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I got to have like
really
crazy. Great
that
conversation. I got to share my testimony during this trip for all the students, and
I forgot I made you do that.
Yeah. So I felt very all over the place, and I was like, did anyone even receive anything? And there were multiple interactions I had after that with some people, but one of them was Barnaby, and he was just asking me questions, and I was able to encourage him to not lose hope in his family, like knowing the Lord, and share some of my like redemptive story. And it's very much still being written, but like the hope that I continue to have and that he like should hold on to as well. And I got to pray with him, and it was really wonderful. But at the end of our time, he asked if he could pray for the team and gathered us all together and just prayed the most beautiful and powerful and authoritative prayer. And then once he closed, he was like, "That's the first time I've ever prayed out loud." And I was like,
What?
Are you?
Yo, I get chills
serious?
thinking about that moment.
Like it
to
was
this day.
It was such like, if you think of this like pure heart prayer, that was Barnaby. Like
So good.
it was amazing. He's also the kid who stayed up all night, learned one of Diomer's songs and performed it with him the last day. Like he's just this like wild card kid, but has so much depth. And it was such an honor to like be able to encourage him and invest in him in that week, because he was like sold out on Ripe. And like, I think it's easy for groups to come in and like keep themselves separate from students and to have this like, I don't know, mindset that they're like adults and can't have fun or whatever. I don't know. But like, we definitely take the opposite approach of like, we want to be around them as much as we can and like love them back as much as we can. I think it pays off so well when you see someone like Barnaby like have moments that he did. It's so special.
Yeah, it was super.
So special.
It was super, super special. I'm like just remembering, even if I can't remember exact things that were said, I can remember what I felt. Like thinking back to the week and the interactions I had, and I was just like, whoa. There's probably only been a handful of teenagers that I've met that I look at like, oh, this kid's actually gonna like change the world.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to hear what happens with him.
Mm-hmm.
And also like feeling a burden like, oh, we got to cover him in prayer because the Lord really wants to use this kid in a powerful way. And it wasn't some gift set. It was just sincerity. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, Emily, it's like what we felt about you when we met you when you were a little baby at 18 years old.
I think you met me when I was 17.
17 years old. Nutty. Like this stuff I could tell about that story. But that was very similar with him. Where it's just like, wow, something is so... I would create an intern program just to have Barnaby come spend the summer with us.
Yeah.
That's how significant whatever is in him is.
Yeah.
Is like you would want him to be a part of the thing that you're doing because it's so unique. So yeah, it was just those two, like, and it's not to say that all the other students weren't adorable and amazing and had so much impact, and you don't have the week that we had there without 100% buy-in, basically.
Yeah.
But those two just kind of stood out a little bit.
I do have one more story with
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
student. So throughout the week, there was one student who, like, from the get-go, like, he would raise his hands, he would, like, sing from the back, and always come up to us and be like, oh my gosh, that was so powerful, like, I just loved it, like, I really, like, enjoyed what you guys are doing. And, like, specifically to me was just like, I would really love to like sit down and talk with you about like worship and stuff. And I was like, absolutely. And for some reason, like, it just didn't happen until the end of the week. And it was after the night where I gave my testimony. And he was like, I know why I'm supposed to talk to you. And he was like, I am struggling with addiction right now, like with like nicotine and vaping and all of that stuff. And I don't know how to get out of it. And I don't know who to turn to. I don't think my parents, like, I know that they won't receive it well, and I don't know what to do. And I was like able to like just point him in the direction of his leaders and point him in the direction of prayer, but also practical things. But like being able to, I just like encouraged him so much in his vulnerability, in his confession of sin and struggle and that. And I just like was so grateful to be able to be in that position, because I was once that kid who was like struggling in silence and didn't feel like I had a place to go to like confess and not be condemned and met with punishment. but like to be able to be that voice that like the first person he opens up to about it, to be someone who like is graceful and I don't know, just like encouraging him to be vulnerable, like have the hard conversations, because this is how you get out of it. This is how you like surrender it and move on and have freedom from it. This is the first step, and the hardest part is opening your mouth and saying it. And like I was just so like honored and joyful that like getting to see my testimony like stir something up in someone else and be that voice that I like wish that I had in that time, of someone to receive me like that, and like how things would have been so different, and I was able to step in like that and really point him in the direction of like, this isn't the end, this is the beginning. And now what you do is you surround yourself with adults that love and care for you, that you can come to and talk with and be vulnerable with and get accountability. And like, yeah, it was just very, very special. Like that week, the Lord really pointed points of my testimony that are hard for me to share sometimes, and was like, no, there's fruit from this. There's like beauty that's coming from this. And what it is, it's helping the kids that you're speaking to get out of what they're in, and helping people not make the same mistakes you did. So it was it's a
powerful week. Yeah, and I mean, all of us probably had different stories and interactions, because I mean, the cool thing is, like, even though there's a couple hundred students there or whatever it is, they're from like 7, 8, 10 different churches. So a lot of them are meeting for the first time.
Right.
And, big thing that we challenge is like unity stuff. I think we stand as a unifier kind of in the city and of Philadelphia. And so we're kind of always speaking that language of unity in other places. And so encouraging like cross-pollination between the students from different churches. I like did a bunch of games that like made them interact with each other and stuff, because we're just super intentional. And to see some of those relationships, not even necessarily with us, but with each other.
Yeah.
Like, that was so raw to witness.
Remember, when we would have meals, you would have us go sit with different tables, and I know it encouraged the students to sit at different tables that they typically would, which is, modeling what you just said. Like, right, we're not all part of the same church,
right?
And even in that, like, some of our churches, like, they don't look the same. We might worship differently, or this or that, and I just think that us going out there modeled that, like, for them. I know for me, like, the most significant moments were just sitting at a random table, and talking to random youth that I'd never seen before, and even like some of the adults were super interesting and hilarious.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I know for me, like, I didn't have like one like significant moment like with like talking to one of the teenagers. I think for me, what impacted me the most was, we went out there to serve, to lead these youth and the adults with them, and to worship. But I don't know about you guys, but the way they served us and like took care of us, like down from like the simple things, like, making sure we had drinks in the fridge at the house. When we got to the church late because we slept in or were just tired, they stood back to feed us.
Yeah.
Even like some of the nights like had snacks for us. And come on now, the way they took care of DJ Aunt G.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like who
was
got
crazy.
Who got injured their second leg of the trip on the way there?
He tweaked his back super bad, but we found out it wasn't just a tweaked back. It was like an actual like required back surgery, significant back surgery thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It ministered
later.
to me, like how they took care of him.
Yeah, they took care of him. They had chiropractors come in like every day. Massage therapists come in, trying to get him medicine and stuff while we're, U.S. citizens in Canada.
You're amazing.
Like we're out of country. Like it's just tough to do all that stuff. And
Right.
they're just like, we're going to figure it out. We're going to do what we can. We're going to make sure that this is like, you're our guest. Canadian hospitality is different.
It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, it's probably just different than Philly, but it's different.
They really take care of people so well.
Yeah. The honor, the
What was
generosity, respect. It's amazing.
Was it Breezy when I was in charge of the kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
Yo, she was tough. I love
She
her.
was so hype. She got like a big budget for food this year, and she was like, "Oh, I'm getting everything fresh. Like we're eating good vegetables, and I'm making homemade bread for French toast." And she went in. That was the best food I have ever had for a missions
I never
trip.
had like, cold cuts like the way that they did it up there.
Ooh.
And the breads and like the salad, that fresh salad.
Oh yeah, it
Anyway.
was so vibrant. The colors were literally different. In the salad, the
I
tomatoes.
ain't never seen no
and,
strawberry this red.
It was different.
But
No, she did not play games.
I mean, her whole staff, like they went above and beyond. Like, they took care of us so well.
And we interacted with a lot of the adults a lot.
The adults were in. They were dancing. They were like jumping with us, and like they throughout the week they got more and more like sold out too. And I think that like not just the kids going back with that, but with the leaders who went back with that spirit was like so good.
I do want to say this one thing because and it's not to like pat myself on the back, but I remember the night one when you guys were in practice. It like was clicking like, oh my gosh, I've been in this space before. Like I know what to do. So I go to the leaders meeting and I was like, hey, just want to introduce myself, blah, blah, blah. And then, he's like, anything you can tell us about tonight? And it was like, hey, you're going to want to like gravitate towards the back or towards your cell phone or think, but if you will like lean in these first couple nights with us and lead your students, we're going to be light years ahead. It's all stuff I learned from club at TPP year after year, week after week after week after week, doing 500 nights of worship there. That training of the leaders thing was so natural, but in that room they were like, oh, okay. And then they did it.
Yeah, they did.
And it was just like, man, God is so unique. The way that he gives you what you need for another space, for another community, for another team. I just remember being like, wow, thank you, Jesus, for my past and how it translates into being able to be a bigger blessing to this.
Can we real quick talk about how Will jumped on the organ?
I don't know, what night was that? Wednesday?
No, that was the last night that we
We're in the
led
sanctuary.
worship in the actual sanctuary.
Right. I think it might have been Wednesday. Because Thursday was the beach, and then I think Friday
it was Wednesday. It was the
Downstairs,
Wednesday.
yeah.
Friday was downstairs for the hype joint. But Wednesday night, Will jumps on the organ.
During the bridge of
What song was it?
All Hail King Jesus, maybe? I don't
No,
even
was
know.
it? I don't
It was the
remember.
bridge of something.
He
And we
was
were all
going
just
in.
like, oh,
I was like
my gosh.
playing like a steady, just like, thriving, like, beat, keeping like the tempo. And then I just hear like, I hear the organ. And I turn to Estie's like, stop playing. And I'm like, okay. And it was just like, whoa.
Was it Great Are You, Lord?
Maybe it was Greater You
I think
Lord.
it
I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, he jumped in on the organ.
And we all just stopped. Like,
It was so good.
well, I
Heavens
stopped. I think you
opened.
guys kept singing, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it was, I don't know, man. It was so, like, that was heavy.
It was so raw.
Like, wow.
And Will was kind of like excited to play, but also kind of like, he didn't want to intrude. He didn't feel like it was his place. And we're like, no. You guys were like, we want you, Will.
We've been wanting that all week.
And it fit so well. And you could just tell
Yeah.
what it meant to him to get to like really let loose in that space and to play with you guys. And I think he really felt honored by it. And it's just like one of those weeks where just the love of Christ being expressed and received back and forth from direction to direction, person to person. It was so stinking special.
Because there was also another Will who was the worship leader at Talbot Street.
Yeah.
And he played with us on Sunday. And then we had him come back a few more times and lead with us. But we were able to like invest in him as a worship leader because he did not feel like called to be a worship leader, but that he was operating in that for a temporary time in his mind at least. But I like Isaac and like I feel like Isaac really like pulled him in and like invited him when we went and did stuff, and like just another way that like having him on the team was so valuable. But like Will was able to like lead songs that he wants to lead because he knows Maverick City, but his church is like very old fashioned, and they just like they don't do that music. And so when he saw our set list, he was like, I would love to do some of these songs with them. And so we were able to invest in him as a worship leader. And like, if you haven't seen Ripe Worship lead worship before, we move, we don't wear shoes, we jump around, we dance, we go spontaneous, we do lots of things that are not normal. And I think that aspect of freedom that we have, we were able to like also plant at Talbot, like with Will and with both Wills. And that was such a gift.
Yep. So much. It was so good. The whole week it was just and then I remember Thursday we went to the beach.
Yeah.
It was adorable. We did like we just drove out to nowhere.
Port Bruce.
Shout out to you for knowing that. Junito.
There it goes.
And
I
we
just
were
pulled
Port Bruce.
Where is it?
And we did like a little outdoor worship set situation. And Demir's performing every night. So one of the things, rather than have Demir do like 2 nights where he did 2 long sets, I was like, let's just add a song or 2 to every night, building towards maybe him doing more by the end of the week. But instead of him like he only performs on Sunday and Tuesday, like let's fit him into the schedule of the event. And we didn't really know this, but we ended up running the whole club.
Yeah.
All the way up until handing the microphone to the speaker. We were really just booked to do worship. But because of our backstory and our background with doing this so much, we just ran the first 60% of club.
And this was Will's very first like time being a host for London Serve.
Yeah, that's true.
And so like he was just so open to like whatever you can like teach me, like whatever you think, whatever you want to do, like do it. But he was very open-handed with it, but he was also operating as like the head pastor. As his pastor was on sabbatical, he was leading this and then leading his like church's group of students the next week somewhere else in Canada.
The same day we left, they did.
To Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
So it was just, he was doing so much, and we could tell that like
he's burning.
We could alleviate that by just like doing what
we'll
he
make
needed.
sure that club is great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think we did that well. But one of the days we went to the beach and outdoor worship, and Demir performed. And I know this is like such a small detail, but he fell off the cooler because there wasn't like seating area or stage, so we used the coolers. He was standing on
the video somewhere.
There's a video that you have to find on our Instagram.
I think it's during Pina Colada.
Yeah. Oh, he's like, I'm feeling sweet. And he just falls down, and it looks like my man died.
Listen,
in a sea of teenagers.
I also popped the blood vessel on my finger playing what was that playing? The box drum. Yeah.
Cajon.
That was
that.
Cajon. Yeah, it was great though. But that was Thursday. Friday was the big finale. Mm-hmm. Fantastic worship night, altar call, kids responding, powerful night. They go to their small groups, and we wrap up the entire week with a full-on concert, dance party, Cupid Shuffle, Cha-Cha Slide, Demir's doing a full concert, Junito's on drums, Este's on electric. Isaac, I think, might have picked up the bass at some point and put it back down just so that you guys have fun. But it was just like a party. And it was one of the coolest ways I've ever seen a mission trip kind of end, where it was like we just got to celebrate together, and it was ridiculously special. Yeah. And they ordered like disco lights from Amazon in the middle of the week so they would be ready for it.
Yep.
And it was not on the schedule when we got booked. It was something that was a overflow of this Will trusting us. And what do you think about this? Could we maybe do something like this? Aunt really wanted to do it. Aunt was like, we're doing a dance party.
Listen, they did the cha-cha slide. No.
They were killing it. They struggled with keeping beat sometimes,
Oh,
but by
yeah.
the end of the week,
They were never on beat.
they were better at the end of the week than they were at the
Yeah.
beginning, for sure.
They were definitely not.
But it was so good to see them, like, because even getting in like a dance circle, like they got in the middle, like at the beginning of the week, that literally never would have happened. But they felt so free that they could be like clapping off beat and not care, and like sidestepping and trying to clap and not matching up at all, but they didn't care because they were just having fun. And that is like
so good.
That's freedom. That's like the best.
What night was it that you all dressed up as old ladies?
Oh, so there was a fancy dinner one night, and
You guys went to the thrift
apparently
store, right?
we were supposed to bring like nice clothes. And I don't think we knew that because all the students brought like nice clothes to wear for this dinner.
Yeah, we definitely
because it was
didn't
like
know. Yeah, I had on
this
skinny
feast,
jeans.
beautiful everything.
And a
Like they
t-shirt.
changed the whole inside, and so the girls were like, you know what, we're gonna go thrift something. And when we got there, they had some killer old lady church clothes, and so we're like, we're going hard in this direction. So we pick them up, we change our clothes, we literally like take a video in the stairwell, and we don't go down until we're the last people to walk in the door. So we walk in the door and all eyes are on us, and we got an honorable mention of our wonderful outfits, and our table got to eat first. But like it was just so fun. We also sat with, apparently there was a group of girls that were just like really loved me and Olivia and Priscilla, and just like wanted to like be around us, but were really shy. And multiple of their leaders were like, if you could just go and say hi to them and talk with them, it would make their week. And we were like, okay, point them out, we're gonna sit with them. And so we sat with them and we ate with them and got to know them a little bit. But it was just like so fun to be able to like be so goofy and so like personable. Like we're not these like cool people, like we are dorks. We are gonna like dress up and be a little crazy and a little kooky and a little weird, but that gives the students permission to do the same,
Yeah.
and feel comfortable in their skin. And like it's just like the best part of what we're able to
who
go
we
in
are.
and do.
It's
Like
so special.
we got to talk about Asher. Like we can't end this podcast without talking about Asher. This kid, oddball, so lovable. Every single night, just walks on stage, grabs the mic from Will, and just goes in about something. Like
It's amazing.
most of it was like, I'm just so like thankful to be here, and like you guys like have been really great and like welcoming me, and like just the confidence of, I don't even know. Like
It was the accent for me.
Oh, because I did the Yay God Jesus thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I taught them. So I do this thing where I was like, Yay God Jesus.
Yeah.
And so he would just like, he would get nervous while he was up there talking, and he would just be like,
Like,
Yay God. And then he'd go, are you gonna say it back?
Yeah.
It was amazing. Asher.
But he's one of those kids that like very easily during the week could have just not talked to other people and not been included in groups. Could have been very like attached to his leaders, because even the first night that we met him, like he was sitting at a table with just leaders, and like I think it would have been so easy for him to
Not have the week he had.
not at all. But like I don't even know, like maybe it was us like talking with him, or maybe it was just like the excitement of the week and like the freedom that was felt in the room, that he just felt comfortable enough to like really put himself out there, and like everybody loved him. It was like,
Wasn't he from like really far away too?
yes, he was from, because they had moved, so he like, and he was having a lot of like just a lot of like issues with like mental illness stuff, with just like
social
like
anxiety stuff.
just struggling before he went on this trip and didn't really want to go. But they had just moved like way farther away from this church that he'd been going to, and so like went on this trip after not being around for a while and having like a little bit of a hard time, and just fully able to like receive and be comfortable and be like loved and love other people. And it was just so beautiful. But like Asher was like the star student of the, like, other than Barnaby, of course. Asher was like, yeah.
It was, and I think I remember his rants on stage were mostly about conversations he had with other students. and how like, and now we're like friends,
Yeah.
and now we're like best friends, and so I can't wait to talk to you more because it's gonna be great. And it was just like, this kid is like, oh man, I just get you.
Such a
it's so
character.
good to like see students that you can't even imagine what this kid's story might have been without this week, you know,
Yeah.
and the ways that God is using this to redeem and restore him and set him on a totally different path. There's so many stories. We could go on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
But Canada, praise God. Huh?
Canada.
10 out of 10 would do again.
Yeah. If they would have us back, we would go back.
Yeah, I would definitely go back.
It was really, really special. And
Maybe-
shout out to the entire organization, Serve, and what they're doing in Canada and also stateside. You guys have something really, really special, you know, that you guys are doing for teenagers and young people throughout, you know, even internationally. So, you know, it was a great joy. It's something that we're really, really thankful to have been able to experience. Something that, yeah, hopefully one day we get opportunities to do that kind of stuff again. And what I would just say is the biggest thing is with our crew that I think is so valuable is we do not treat getting booked as an opportunity to do the 30-minute set on stage. That's never who we've been. It's never who we will be. The second it becomes that, I think we need to shut it down. When we say yes to the whole thing. We say yes to the relationships, yes to the opportunity to invest, yes to sacrifice, yes to communication and, you know, love and pouring yourself out into the people that you've been given access to. And a lot of times that's young people. And that's what I think makes us effective.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, the sound was hard, right? Like, it wasn't a great sound system.
Yeah.
They were using monitors as mains and all that kind of stuff. Like, we probably didn't sound as good as we could have in other spaces with better technology. If Jared had been there, we would have been fine. You jerk. Jared's in the room. But, you know, but without that stuff, you could just judge the week off of how well did we do. How did I perform that song? How well did I do that poem? Did I MC okay? Was Demir's set good? Did Aunt G play all the right tracks? And that's your judge. We don't judge the week off of any of that.
Yeah.
Every night we were critiquing ourselves on how we can improve. But it was the best week ever because of the relationships.
Yeah.
Because how we did, none of that stuff is relevant. None of those kids remember what keys we missed. You know what I mean? But they do remember how we sat with them at the dinner table or how we went on that walk to the coffee shop with them. That stuff matters. And that's what I think sets us apart. I'm sure other people do it, but that's the commitment that we make as a ministry. Like, we're all in on the ministry stuff.
Yeah.
You
Sold
know?
out for Jesus. And that's like the most important thing is that like they left knowing like, wow, those people really love Jesus. And like we see why they do.
Yep.
Like we see how wonderful he is too.
Amen. It was a heck of a trip.
Definitely.
Andres.
Yeah.
Emily. Jarrett. Top Mop Productions is in the room, not on a microphone because he didn't go to Canada with us. But thank you, Jarrett. Thank you,
He
Emily.
made sure to
Thank you,
text.
Andre. We appreciate y'all.
You're very
And
welcome.
thank you, audience, for being here. Whoever you are listening to this, you probably partner with Ripe Creative. So we just want to say thank you for making trips like Canada possible. Because of your support, we're able to do and find these types of spaces to be able to go and serve. And so thank you for helping us make this whole story be a part of now your story as you're hearing it. And if you're here and you're listening to this podcast and you're hearing about Ripe Creatives and this crazy story, if you want to help support everything that we do, it would be amazing for you to jump on our website, ripecreatives.com, and click the give button to become a ongoing or one-time partner with Ripe Creatives at whatever level or frequency is healthy for you and your current financial situation, to help us do more of this kind of stuff. I mean, I would love for the day where we have the resources and funding to be able to say, man, let's just get on the road and let's go do this stuff all summer, all over the country. I mean, if that was in the cards for us, a lot of it comes down to resources, though. So if you wouldn't mind considering being a part of this with us, that would be massive. You can just jump on our website, as I said. Also, we have a community line. If you want to text us, 215-273-3540. You can text us the words "Time is Ripe," and we will send these episodes to you directly on your device. That's the easiest way to stay up to date with the podcast, and subscribe and do all those things as well. Thank you guys again for tuning in to Time is Ripe. It was a pleasure to do this episode. I know it was a long one, but Canada is worth it. And until next time, y'all, stay right.
No one can take it.